I could still smell the faint aroma of roses from the centerpiece on the dining table as I sat there, fingers drumming against the smooth oak surface. The house was a pristine reflection of our plans, a blend of her whimsical touches and my more subdued practicality. The guest list was finalized, the caterer confirmed, and the wedding invitations had just gone out. 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, I was supposed to marry the love of my life, Sarah. Did you book the spa appointment? Her voice had echoed through the house just that morning, brimming with excitement. She always had this energy, this magnetism, that made her presence fill every corner of the room. It was one of the many things that drew me to her in college, her lightness, her easy laughter. The evening felt different, though. Something was off. The clock ticked past 8, and she still wasn't home. Sarah wasn't the type to go off the radar. Her texts were usually relentless updates. A selfie from the gym, a photo of her latte, an outfit choice she needed my opinion on. Tonight? Silence. By 10, the concern started to gnaw at me. I picked up my phone and dialed her number. It rang out, going straight to voicemail. I tried again, nothing. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the empty wine glass in front of me. The TV buzzed softly in the background, airing some mindless sitcom. The laughter track felt like mockery. By 11, the sound of tires crunching on the gravel driveway pulled me to the window. I saw Sarah's car, her shiny white sedan glinting in the porch light. Relief flooded through me, followed quickly by irritation. She knew I worried when she went AWOL. When she walked through the door, her cheeks were flushed and her hair was tousled. She didn't meet my eyes. "Where were you?" I asked, standing in the doorway to the kitchen. She hesitated. "Out with Jenna," she said, too casually. "We got drinks. Lost track of time." Jenna, her college roommate and perpetual bad influence. Sarah always came back from her nights with Jenna smelling of vodka and bad decisions, but tonight there was no scent of alcohol. Instead, I caught a faint whiff of cologne. Not hers, not mine. Something expensive and unfamiliar. I narrowed my eyes. "You couldn't send a text?" "My phone died," she replied too quickly. She pulled it out of her bag, holding it up like a shield. The black screen stared back at me, but something about the angle of her grip made me think she didn't want me to see it. I let it drop, not wanting to pick a fight this late. But unease wormed its way into my chest. The next morning, I woke up to find her sitting on the edge of the bed, scrolling through her phone. She looked guilty, like she hadn't slept. "Everything okay?" I asked, my voice groggy. She jumped, clutching the phone tightly. "Yeah, just thinking about the wedding." I sat up, stretching. "What about it?" She hesitated. "Do you ever wonder if we're rushing into this?" Her words hit me like a punch. "What? Where's this coming from?" "Don't get me wrong. I love you. I want to be with you, but I don't know. Everyone keeps saying how young we are. Maybe they're right." My stomach twisted. "We've been together for 5 years, Sarah. This isn't rushing." "I know. Forget I said anything." She flashed me a forced smile and leaned in to kiss me. But it didn't feel the same. Something had shifted, a crack running through the foundation of our relationship. By the end of the day, she dropped another bombshell. Jenna had invited her to a spontaneous getaway with the girls for the weekend. It was a bachelorette party, she claimed, a celebration of our upcoming wedding. "You're okay with that, right?" she asked, her tone light, as if the question were rhetorical. I hesitated. "When do you leave?" "Tomorrow morning." Tomorrow. That wasn't like Sarah. She was a meticulous planner, the kind of person who color-coded her schedule and hated surprises. This sudden trip felt out of character, but I didn't argue. Maybe she needed this. Maybe the pre-wedding stress was getting to her, and she just needed to blow off some steam. "Sure," I said finally. "Go have fun." Her face lit up, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was giving her permission to slip further away from me. The next morning, I stood on the porch, watching her pack her bags into Jenna's car. She waved, her smile bright and carefree. As they pulled out of the driveway, I felt an ache settle in my chest. Hours later, a text from Jenna's fiancé shattered that illusion. "Hey man, just a heads up. Jenna's not doing anything this weekend. Hope Sarah's having fun with whatever she's up to." My stomach dropped. The pieces of the puzzle didn't just fit together. They slammed into place with a sickening finality. A forgotten night of drinks, a whiff of strange cologne, a last-minute girls' trip. I stared at the text, my hands trembling with a volatile mix of disbelief and fury. The room around me blurred as my focus tunneled in on Jenna's fiancé's words. Jenna's not doing anything this weekend. Sarah wasn't with Jenna. She had lied. My mind replayed the past few days, each suspicious moment now screaming its truth in hindsight. The cologne, the distance in her eyes, the sudden doubts about the wedding, and now this spontaneous trip. I couldn't just sit here and let my life unravel in silence, not without knowing the truth. The first step was simple. I called Jenna. Her cheerful voice answered after a couple of rings. "Hey, what's up? Where's Sarah?" My voice was cold, unrelenting. There was a pause. Uh, isn't she with you?" "No, Jenna. She told me she was with you. For a bachelorette weekend. Funny thing is, your fiancé doesn't seem to know about it." Her silence spoke volumes. I don't know what to say," she stammered. "Look, I didn't know she was going to say that. I didn't want to get involved." My blood boiled. "So, you know where she is?" "I think she's in Vegas," Jenna admitted reluctantly. "With Aaron." "Aaron?" I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. "You knew? And you didn't think to tell me?" "She told me not to. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't want to be in the middle of this." I hung up before she could continue. I didn't need her apologies. What I needed was to confront the woman who had promised me forever, but had chosen to chase ghosts from her past instead. An hour later, I was on a plane to Las Vegas. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't make a plan. All I brought was the storm of anger brewing inside me. Every second of that flight felt like an eternity, my mind racing with scenarios. I imagined her laughing with Aaron, his hands on her, their history rekindling in a haze of alcohol and neon lights. By the time the plane landed, I was seething. I didn't even bother checking into a hotel. I went straight to the Strip, armed with the address Jenna had reluctantly texted me. A luxury penthouse suite in a 5-star hotel. The elevator ride up to the penthouse felt surreal. My reflection in the mirrored walls showed a man I barely recognized. Jaw tight, eyes dark, fists clenched. I wasn't the forgiving fiancé anymore. I wasn't the nice guy who'd laugh off Sarah's quirks and put up with her excuses. I was a man betrayed, and I was ready to burn everything to the ground. The doors slid open with a soft ding, revealing a long hallway lined with plush carpet. I found the suite number and pounded on the door. It swung open after a few moments, revealing Aaron. He was taller than I remembered, his smug face twisted in confusion as he saw me. "Whoa, what the hell are you doing here?" "Where's Sarah?" My voice was low, dangerous. "She's not—" I didn't let him finish. My fist connected with his jaw, sending him staggering back into the room. I stepped inside, slamming the door shut behind me. The luxurious penthouse was a blur. Gold accents, leather furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the Vegas skyline. But my focus was on Aaron, now scrambling to his feet. "She's not here, man," he yelled, holding up his hands defensively. "Don't lie to me." I lunged at him again, grabbing the collar of his expensive shirt and shoving him against the wall. "I know she's here. Where is she?" Aaron's fear turned to anger. He shoved me back, throwing a wild punch that glanced off my shoulder. It wasn't enough to stop me. I tackled him, the two of us crashing into a glass coffee table that shattered under our weight. "You think you can just take her?" I snarled, pinning him to the ground. "You think you can ruin my life and get away with it?" "She came to me," he spat, blood dripping from his split lip. "She said she wasn't happy with you." His words hit me harder than any punch. I froze for a moment, the weight of betrayal crushing me. But then the bedroom door creaked open, and there she was. Sarah stood in the doorway, wrapped in one of the hotel's plush robes, her hair damp from a recent shower. Her eyes widened as she took in the scene. Me straddling Aaron, both of us bloody and bruised, the shattered remains of the coffee table around us. "Daniel?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the pounding of my heart. I rose to my feet, glaring at her. "Is this what you wanted?" I gestured to Aaron, who was now groaning on the floor. Was this worth throwing everything away? Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She looked caught between guilt, fear, and the remnants of whatever fantasy she'd been living. "You lied to me," I continued, my voice breaking. You threw away our future for this? It's not what it looks like, she stammered. I laughed bitterly. Really? Because it looks like you ran off with your ex 2 weeks before our wedding. Tears welled in her eyes. But they didn't move me. Not this time. I didn't mean for this to happen, she said weakly. I needed to figure things out. Figure things out? I repeated, incredulous. You don't figure things out by crawling back to your past. Aaron groaned, dragging himself to a sitting position. Look, man. Shut up, I snapped, kicking the remains of the coffee table for emphasis. He flinched, wisely staying silent. I turned back to Sarah. You've made your choice. I hope he's worth it. And with that, I walked out, slamming the door behind me. The elevator ride down felt like a descent into hell, the weight of everything crashing down on me. But one thing was clear. Sarah and I were done. What I wasn't done with was making sure she and Aaron felt the full weight of what they'd done. The Vegas Strip glittered mockingly as I stepped out of the hotel, my heart pounding with fury. Sarah had chosen to blow up our life together, and Aaron had been all too eager to help her strike the match. They thought I'd just walk away, lick my wounds, and disappear. They were wrong. If they wanted chaos, I'd give it to them, but not in a flash of anger. No, I'd make it precise, devastating, nuclear. By the time my flight landed back home, I'd already started to set my plan in motion. Years of careful planning for a wedding, a marriage, a life together had honed my organizational skills, and now I was turning that same focus toward destruction. I didn't just want to hurt Sarah. I wanted to dismantle her carefully curated world, brick by brick. The first step was the wedding. I wasn't going to quietly cancel it and slink away in embarrassment. No, I would let the world know exactly why our plans had gone up in flames. I made a few calls, disguising my voice as an overly enthusiastic assistant from the wedding venue. Within hours, every vendor, guest, and mutual acquaintance knew about Sarah's change of heart. The news spread like wildfire. By the next morning, my phone was buzzing incessantly with texts and calls. Some were from friends offering condolences. Others were from Sarah, alternating between tearful apologies and fiery accusations. I ignored them all. Step 2 required a deeper cut. Sarah prided herself on her spotless reputation. Her Instagram was a shrine to her perfect life, filled with curated photos of us, her thriving career, her pristine social circles. She lived for the validation of likes and comments. I still had access to her accounts. Passwords she'd once trusted me with were now my weapons. Logging into her Instagram, I uploaded a series of posts. The first was a picture of Sarah and Aaron from their college days, their arms wrapped around each other. The caption read, "Full circle." 2 weeks before the wedding, she found her way back to her ex. True love, right? I followed it with screenshots of texts I'd uncovered between them. Messages she hadn't bothered to delete. Plans for Vegas. Professions of undying love. A selfie she'd sent him in lingerie, taken in what was supposed to be our bedroom. By the time I was done, her profile was a wasteland of exposed lies. The backlash was immediate. Comments poured in, friends and family expressing outrage, disappointment, and disgust. I could almost hear the sound of her carefully built facade crumbling. While her social world burned, I focused on her professional life. Sarah worked for a high-profile PR firm, managing high-stakes clients. Her image was everything in that world. So I sent an anonymous email to her boss, attaching the Instagram screenshots along with a polite note. Not sure if this reflects the professionalism your clients expect. The fallout was swift. Within hours, I heard through the grapevine that Sarah had been put on indefinite leave. Her boss, it seemed, didn't appreciate scandal. Finally, there was Aaron. He might have thought he was getting away unscathed, but he was about to learn that no one crossed me without consequences. A quick online search revealed that he was trying to launch a new startup. He'd been courting investors, presenting himself as a stable, trustworthy entrepreneur. Using an anonymous email account, I sent those same Vegas photos and screenshots to every investor I could find associated with his company. I framed it as concern, highlighting Aaron's questionable ethics and his involvement in personal scandals. Within days, Aaron's startup lost its major backers. His name became poison in entrepreneurial circles. his social media bombarded with snarky comments and thinly veiled threats. He went radio silent, retreating from the public eye. I'd barely finished savoring my triumphs when Sarah finally confronted me. She showed up at my house, her eyes red from crying, her face pale. She wasn't wearing makeup, her hair was disheveled, and she looked like a shadow of the woman I'd once loved. "What did you do?" she demanded, her voice trembling with rage and desperation. "You ruined me, Daniel." "No," I said calmly, leaning against the doorframe. "You ruined yourself. I just made sure everyone saw it." She stepped closer, her expression crumbling. "Please, you have to stop. I made a mistake. But we can fix this. We can fix us." I laughed, the sound harsh and bitter. "Us? There's no us, Sarah. Not anymore. You made sure of that when you decided I wasn't enough for you." Tears streamed down her face, but I felt nothing. "You don't understand," she sobbed. "I thought I needed closure with Aaron. You thought you could play me for a fool," I interrupted. "And now you're dealing with the consequences." She crumpled onto the porch, crying into her hands. For a moment, I almost felt pity. Almost. But then I remembered the pain she'd caused, the humiliation she'd expected me to endure quietly, and the pity turned to satisfaction. "Goodbye, Sarah," I said, stepping back into the house and closing the door. The lock clicked into place, shutting her out of my life for good. In the weeks that followed, I rebuilt my life brick by brick, just as I'd torn hers apart. Friends rallied around me. I threw myself into work, hitting milestones that left even my bosses in awe. Sarah and Aaron, meanwhile, faded into obscurity, their reputations in tatters. I didn't regret a thing. They'd tried to destroy me, and I'd shown them what destruction really looked like. And the best part? I didn't need to lift another finger. They'd spend the rest of their lives knowing they'd been outplayed by the man they thought was too weak to fight back. Sarah's family had always been a point of contention in our relationship. Her parents, Lydia and Michael, were as pretentious as they came. Wealthy socialites who looked down on me as working class, despite my successful career. They'd never approved of our engagement, and their disdain had been palpable during every interaction. But it wasn't just her parents. Sarah's younger brother, Ethan, was a trust fund leech who fancied himself an influencer, coasting through life on handouts and fabricated clout. Her entire family thrived on appearances, their world built on lies as fragile as a house of cards. Now that Sarah had torched my life, I decided to return the favor, and I wasn't about to leave her family untouched. The parents. A social debacle. Lydia and Michael's primary currency was social standing. Their charity galas, country club memberships, and endless networking events were their lifeblood. Public humiliation would be the knife that gutted their carefully crafted image. I started with their charity foundation. A little digging revealed that their philanthropy wasn't as spotless as they claimed. Several tax filings had discrepancies, suggesting that a significant portion of donations never made it to the causes they purported to support. With the help of an anonymous whistleblower email, I forwarded the information to a local investigative journalist who specialized in high society scandals. The story broke within a week. Headlines screamed about misappropriation of funds and fake altruism. Lydia and Michael's names were dragged through the mud on social media, their once loyal friends turning on them in droves. Their beloved country club revoked their membership pending further review, and the sponsors for their upcoming gala pulled out, citing reputational concerns. I watched the chaos unfold from the sidelines, a smirk on my face, as Lydia's tearful statement on the evening news failed to garner sympathy. Their fortress of status was crumbling, and I had barely lifted a finger. The brother. Exposing the fraud. Ethan's world revolved around his Instagram following, a carefully curated collection of fake luxury, rented sports cars, and vacation photos, taken on credit. His biggest partnership was with a luxury watch brand, which he claimed to represent as an ambassador. It took me less than a day to uncover the truth. Ethan wasn't an ambassador. He was a customer who had stretched himself thin, buying watches on a payment plan. He faked brand deals by photographing himself in stores or editing logos onto promotional posts. Using a burner account, I compiled a dossier of evidence, receipts, doctored photos, and screenshots of his exaggerated claims. Then, I shared it with a few prominent influencers who delighted in exposing frauds. They tore into Ethan with gleeful savagery, posting videos dissecting his lies and calling him out by name. Within days, Ethan's follower count plummeted, his sponsorship offers dried up, and his posts were flooded with mocking comments. His public breakdown, complete with an apology video that only made things worse, was the icing on the cake. The final twist: divide and conquer. Sarah's family had always presented a united front, but beneath the surface, their relationships were rife with resentment and rivalry. Lydia and Michael constantly criticized Ethan's irresponsibility, while Ethan seethed over their favoritism toward Sarah. Sarah, in turn, complained endlessly about their controlling nature. I decided to stoke those flames. Posing as a third party, I sent Lydia and Michael an anonymous letter claiming Ethan had leaked sensitive family financial information to the press to save himself. To Ethan, I sent a message suggesting that Sarah had been the one to spill the family's dirty secrets to me, knowing I'd use them to hurt him. It didn't take long for the cracks to widen. Ethan lashed out publicly, accusing Sarah of ruining his reputation. Michael, always quick to judge, blamed Sarah and cut her off financially. Lydia, desperate to maintain control, tried to mediate, only to be caught in the crossfire. The once tight-knit family descended into infighting, their Thanksgiving dinner rumored to have ended in a shouting match that left plates shattered on the floor. They were too busy tearing each other apart to realize I'd been the one holding the puppet strings. The fallout months. Later, I heard through mutual acquaintances that Sarah had moved in with a friend, estranged from her parents and brother. Lydia and Michael were still embroiled in legal battles over their foundation, while Ethan had disappeared from social media entirely, rumored to be working as a barista in a city far from home. As for me, I thrived. My career skyrocketed, my friendships deepened, and for the first time in years, I felt free. I'd been a mere footnote in Sarah's life, someone she thought she could discard without consequence. But now, every time she looked at her fractured family, her tarnished reputation, and the wreckage of her former life, she'd remember I was the one who turned the tables. Months had passed since I turned Sarah's perfect world into rubble. The firestorm I had unleashed had burned through her life, her family, and her ex-lover. Each move had been calculated, precise, and merciless. Now, there was only silence, the eerie calm that comes when there's nothing left to destroy. But that silence didn't bring me peace. Not yet. One last letter. I hadn't heard from Sarah since the day she sobbed on my porch. That suited me fine. But one day, as I sat in my office late at night, my phone buzzed with a notification. An email from her. The subject line read, "Please read this." Against my better judgment, I opened it. "Daniel, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. Not just for what I did, but for who I became. I made mistakes, terrible ones. You didn't deserve any of this. I've lost everything. My job, my family. Aaron's gone too. He walked away as soon as things got hard. I don't blame him. I'm poison. You got your revenge, and I understand why you did it. I deserved it. But I hope one day you can let go of the anger. I hope you find happiness. You deserve that much. Sarah." I stared at the words, waiting for anger or satisfaction to surface. Instead, all I felt was emptiness. Her apology, her admission of guilt, it was too little, too late. She had made her choices, and I had made mine. I deleted the email without replying. Closure. The next weekend, I stood in front of the house that had once been ours. I'd put it on the market weeks ago, the memories inside too painful to keep. Now, the last of my belongings sat in the back of a moving truck, ready to be hauled to my new apartment across town. I took one final walk through the empty rooms, the living room where we had danced to music on lazy Sundays. The kitchen where she'd burned dinner countless times, laughing as I teased her. The bedroom where I'd imagined a lifetime together, only to have it shattered. As I turned to leave, a neighbor walked by, waving hesitantly. "Heard about the wedding," he said cautiously, not wanting to pry. "Sorry it didn't work out." I shrugged, offering a small, wry smile. "Don't be. It was the best thing that could have happened." Moving forward revenge had been sweet, but it wasn't what defined me. I was more than the man Sarah had wronged, and my life wasn't going to end with her betrayal. In the weeks and months that followed, I rebuilt, one piece at a time. I started traveling, rediscovering parts of myself that had been buried under years of compromise. I reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with, opened myself to new experiences, and began to write my own story, one where I was the protagonist, not the victim. Sarah's shadow no longer haunted me. I didn't check her social media. I didn't ask mutual friends about her. She was just a chapter in my past, a painful, messy chapter, but one that had taught me to value my own worth. Epilogue. 1 year later, I found myself standing on a mountaintop in Norway, the icy wind whipping against my face. Below me, the fjords stretched out like something from a dream, their glassy surfaces reflecting the pale light of the sky. I thought about the man I had been, the one who would have done anything to make Sarah happy, even at the cost of his own dignity. That man was gone. In his place stood someone stronger, someone who had faced betrayal and come out the other side. I smiled to myself, the cold air filling my lungs. It wasn't revenge that had set me free. It was the decision to let go, to leave the ashes behind and embrace the unknown. The world stretched out before me, vast and untamed, and for the first time in years, I felt alive.